Alright, hello everyone. Welcome to this YouTube channel. In the past, I've created a lot of accounts. I'm not gonna say dozens, but a lot of accounts in the pursuit of me documenting my journey. And, I'm only a 21-year-old kid, right? A kid that's trying his hardest to become a man. And I'm going to say this before I get into this, that this channel, for all intents and purposes, is one, not financial advice. Alright, I don't need any one of you lame suing me in the future once I'm successful because you're salty or because you're not where you want to be in life or because of envy. I don't need any one of you guys suing me for your lack of success, alright, in these markets. And by all means, just because I say something on this channel doesn't mean that it's definitive truth. You shouldn't let anyone define definitive truth for you off of rip until you verify it for yourself with your own eyes over hundreds, if not thousands of hours. It has to align with your experience if you want to consider it as truth, because that's the only way you can fit anything into your paradigm. So my advice on this channel is not actually advice, because truth is not something that you learn, it's something that you have. It's something that you know. And this is why the process of learning is such a difficult process, the process of learning anything. And I'm not talking high school algebra here. I'm talking actual principles as to how you're able to conduct your way of living and conduct your means of work. I'm not talking absolutes here. There are no absolutes in life. The only absolute in life is your existence and your beliefs. Those are the only absolutes. And that's the truth. That might be the only real truth. But even that is just my belief. Let that sink in. It's the paradox of this world. Now, for every single one of these videos that I make on this channel, comments are not going to be enabled. You guys aren't going to have any access to me if you come across this, if you stumble across this channel, for the very select few. I doubt that in my lifetime, or in any lifetimes, that this channel will ever be recognized by anyone. And I mean that as a statement to the fact that in the past I may have wanted recognition. The innate human primal brain is sort of geared towards this sense of validation from others because we're social animals. It's the reptilian brain, the monkey ape brain that we have that is meant to gear us towards our evolutionary success. But it's a defect in the 21st century, and you guys have to realize this. And you have to do everything that you can to prevent this. Because the group pact is no longer our means of survival. It isn't. It has actually switched. And this is why certain individuals have the most success. It's switched to an individual sense of belonging that allows for the great success of your future. But this is something that the human mind and the human body hasn't been able to catch up to yet. And the only way to combat this now, against this new age of technology in which everything is fighting for your attention, you have algorithms that are meant to sap you of your attention from all of your true fulfilling desires, to fulfill the desires of said individual, of said type of individual that I mentioned before. So for that reason, I'm not going to have anything enabled on this channel. No comments. You will never have access to my social media. You will never have access to me personally. And this is on purpose as a testament to myself and for you to develop a testament for yourself as well. Because I truly believe this is the only way to reach success in this 21st century age. You know, nobody is perfect. And I said number one on this channel, blah, blah, blah. Number two is this, that if none of this is true, you'll see me 6 feet under. It means nothing was ever possible of ever being realized in the first place. And it means that everything that I've seen, everything that my experience aligns with across life, across all asset classes in the stock market, is a lie, and I'm living a delusion. And as I progress through every single one of these points, your fundamental beliefs may be challenged, right? People who have had success in their own ways and via their own experience and their own endeavors will tell you that it's not the way that you're able to succeed. They'll tell you that it's a lie and that you're living something else that's just not true. And that's a testament to this point here. People operate within their paradigm of experience and beliefs. People are quick to discount something because it challenges their fundamental understanding of what's possible, which they have chosen to attach to their identity as not just a trader, but as a person as well. And, oh shit. And I say that, right, because you have people from all different walks of life, whether it be investment traders or investment bankers or anyone that has any relative amount of success in their field. They'll tell you that the way that you're trying to do things is wrong. They'll tell you that speculative endeavors are pointless and that it's impossible to make money. They'll tell you that the certain way that you're trying to reach success is not the correct way of reaching success, right? And what you have to realize as a person is that although you want to be the person that's wise, that's capable of learning from someone else's experience, that experience is useless if it doesn't align properly with what you believe. And that you should never ever, as a testimony to yourself and staying true to yourself, ever align your beliefs based off of someone else's experience. You have a wealth of experience of yourself, even if you're young, even if you're only 20 years old and you're filled with these different types of ambitions. You have a wealth of fundamental understanding and experience that you've accrued over the past 20 years of your life. These experiences are what shape you as a human being. And if you're Gen Z, right? If you're like me, and you understand this fact, and that the way that a lot of these old heads think just isn't what is aligned with you deep down inside, then by all means, don't follow their experience, right? Follow the experience of the old heads that have gone through what you have personally want to go through, right? And that also doesn't mean be quick to discount what everybody else is saying. I'm not saying that. you want to also be able to have a decent detachment from your ego as a young person. That'll put you 10 steps ahead of the pack. But you have to be able to discern and understand the paradigms of other people and how they live in their own minds. Compare it with yourself and then reach a fundamental understanding and comparison with these two things. You have to sort of be able to juxtapose them in your minds. And that's the truth. And I want to bring in a little bit of a case study. Isaac Newton, right? He conceptualized calculus. He came up in, like, I think it was the 16th or 17th century, the Mathematica Principia, the philosophical principles of mathematics. And this is the book where he outlined his equations via the conceptualization of gravity. This guy was probably deemed the smartest person for over 200 years. Nobody was able to really, they had built upon his fundamental understanding of calculus. This is how we got certain equations in math, like Maxwell's equations, certain laws of thermodynamics, etc., etc. But at the same time, right? Like, this guy was undisputably like the smartest person alive for like 200 years until Einstein came out with his theory of general and special relativity in like the 1920s. And even this guy was caught up in essentially the 16th or 17th century equivalent of a fucking shitcoin. Look at this chart. The South Sea stock was a speculative endeavor, and in reference to to the point that I said earlier, I'm not just telling you guys to just go in and blow all your money on shitcoin, and I'm going to go dive deeper into that for the further along that we go. And as another point, I want to say that this is really truly for myself, so that I have something to wake up to in the morning. And by the end of the video, I'm going to tell, well, for everyone watching, the purpose of this channel. Right? But that's gonna be explained the more we or deeper that we dive. So just bear with me. But this guy was essentially caught up in like the 16th or 17th century equivalent of a fucking shitcoin. South Sea stock was purely a speculative endeavor, right? The company itself was built upon pure speculation. Pure speculation. Essentially, like, Great Britain was in a great deal of debt, right? So, from its surrounding countries, and some guy, I forgot his name, thought of a way to capitalize on this debt based off of what he saw other companies within other countries were doing, right? And because he was salty that he missed certain opportunities in his own company, in his own country, based off of the viewing of performance and the ways of business other companies were dealing with their countries and foreign countries. That's like a word salad. Basically, this guy was just salty, right? And he goes up to the King of Britain, or King of England at the time. I don't know what the fuck it was called back then. I'm not a great history buff. But he goes up to the king and he gives him this offer, right? And he says to this guy that that he would be able to clear Great Britain or England, whatever the fuck it was called, of all of its debt based off of what these other countries or these other companies were doing in other foreign countries. And the way that he did this, I don't want to go too great into detail. Or the way that he drove the price of the stock up of his company was essentially by manipulating the minds of the public. He got all these foreign leaders to invest in the company early on, and he put their names in local newspapers, places where regular people could see, to develop hype for this stock. And these guys were basically partaking in like a certain form of insider trading. Now in meme coins, right, you'll have these early buys by people outside the coin, right? The development of the coin. People that are able to invest in the coin before they even release the coin, right? So that they could obviously take profit in the huge spike up. When the meme coin first gets launched, people buy, and before it reaches a sort of stalemate, and that's when it'll decide if it goes even further up or down. And he basically got people to buy into the hype of this stock early on. And even Newton was played. He got in here, right? He invests a little bit of money early on, and he exits happy. But then he sees all his friends getting richer and richer and richer. And what does Newton do? He buys the top of the 16th, 17th century equivalent of a fucking shitcoin. That's what he does. And he ends up holding the whole way down, just shitting his pants as he invested almost all of his wealth at this top. And he goes broke down here. So the main point that I want to outline is that if all intelligent people were capable of being traders, we would just simply have a lot more day traders in the world. If every Harvard graduate, if every MIT, Berkeley, I don't know, if any of these people from if all of these people from all these Ivy League schools, if all the intelligent people of the world, all the mathematicians, theoretical physicists of the world were capable of being day traders, we would just have a lot more. You know? If the valedictorian of your school was capable of being a day trader, he would do it. But there's a hidden aspect, right? That is generally outlined by the public as trading psychology, but it's more than just trading psychology. It's your actual psychology that matters. And Isaac Newton said it himself, he can calculate the movement of the stars, but he cannot calculate the madness of men. That's an excuse, that's a cop out. It wasn't the madness of men that was his issue here, you know? Like that, it wasn't. It was his greed that was the issue. And this is an understanding that most people their entire lives aren't able to reach. That it's not anything else but themselves. That is the issue. Especially in regards to day trading. I'm going to go even deeper into that in a little bit. So the moral of the story is that your job as a trader has two parts. It's not just the concepts that you learn in regards to how the charts move. It's not just how well you've back tested your strategy. But more than any of this is yourself and your ability to ride the horse. Your ability to ride these concepts, to follow price to the best of your ability. And to not get caught up in the ego. Right? What is the ego? Well, if I could talk about this for hours, but your ego is basically just the way that your identity is formed in reference to the externalities of the world. You may not realize this right now, but you have no concept of yourself as of right now other you have no concept of yourself of right now that doesn't involve some sort of reference to the outside world. Like, for example, your identity as a day trader is in direct reference to your ability to read price, the hours that you put in into reading price, and maybe even the amount of money you've made while reading price. But it all revolves around price. That's what your ego is. That's what your ego consists of. I'm not talking about this understanding of having an egotistical personality. No, I'm talking about the fundamental basis of which this egotistical personality is built upon. That's what I'm speaking on here. That's the ego that I'm telling you to relinquish. Because anything in reference to yourself in regards to the external world is no good. And this is how you're going to skyrocket as a day trader. If you drop your ego, that involves dropping your pride, your greed, your desires. It involves killing all of that and operating only that with that which you love to do. That's what it means. And that's why I can't stop making YouTube channels about this, because I love talking about this. But I also understand the egotistical part of my nature that wants the validation from others, that wants the attention from others. And that's why no one will ever have access to me in regards to this information. That's why I'm doing it like this. And with time, you'll also understand this, and with time, you'll also understand what it means to truly detach from your desires. But before I go into that, I first have to go into all of this, all of these points, points by point. So just bear with me. So that brings us here. We've gone over this. We've gone over this. And now I'll go over this. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your system. This is part of that egotistical nature of yourself, you know? The desire to attain your goals, the overwhelming desire to become that person in your mind. And we see a lot of a lot of successful people, my fault. The Andrew Tates, the Tristan Tates, the Iman Gadzis, the Hamzas, uh, the Steve Jobs, the Elon Musks, the Jeff Bezos. We see all of these successful entrepreneurs constantly in the light of what they have accomplished and what they say they're capable of doing. But what you have to understand is this, that this is only the result of your current paradigm. You don't actually have access to the insides of their minds. Even my conceptualization of these people is going to be vastly different from your conceptualization of these people. But that's all the difference. And that's going to be very different from the way that they actually internalize things and the way that they actually view themselves in their mind and their motivations for doing what they do. Everything that you say someone is a projection. And the way that you think that they achieve themselves and the way that you think that they may have come to a certain amount of success is also a projection. It's based off of only your current understanding of how you think things are possible. And with this, you have to understand that you can't take things at face value anymore. You can't take your process at face value anymore. And you definitely can't go about that process in a way in which other people are known or are thought to have known to be successful. Because the truth of the matter is, you don't have inside access to their minds. The only mind you have access to is yours. So the way that you think that achieving your goals is possible, if you're basing it off of the success of others, and it's not built upon your own experience, then you're going about it in the wrong way. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know it goes against conventional wisdom. I know that we're taught to learn from the mistakes of others, right? But the truth of the matter is that even these mistakes are only mistakes in their mind. Even these mistakes are only mistakes in their minds. If they would have been successful, they would have they would have a completely different outlook on it. So this is like a really deep lesson into how you have to go about learning things, into how you have to go about pursuing your goals. And the only way you're going to be able to achieve your goals is by honoring your own experience. You don't have time to be theoretical. You don't have time to be theoretical. You just don't. All your time should be invested in learning via experimentation and via experience that is built upon former experience and experience that is verified experience of others. That's the clear distinction here. That is the very clear distinction. If you're going to use other people's experience to learn from, you have to verify their experience with your own experience. And this really is a freeing concept because if you're sitting here attached to a certain way of achieving success and you haven't achieved success for months, years, decades even, why are you still attached to that success? You're not honoring your experience. It's not working for you. It's not. You don't have the time to be theoretical. You have to adapt and you have to adjust to what will work for you. You are the person riding the horse. That's just the truth. That's just the truth. And at the end of the day, right? If you're riding a horse that's that's not steering in a straight direction, if you're having these constant ups and downs, left rears and constant swaying of indecision and mistakes and success, then there has to reach a point where you have to ask yourself if what you're doing is the right way of going about doing it. If there isn't a way to be more consistent. If there isn't something that's far deeper than this. That's far deeper than anything that you've ever been told. And this goes back to one of the first points that I made earlier on. Truth is not something that can be taught. It's not. I don't know where truth comes from. And this is something that can only be understood the deeper that you dive into yourself. I don't know where truth comes from. I don't. I'm not talking about truth from some God. I'm not talking about some objective truth from science. I'm talking about truth that we recognize as human beings. That's what I'm really talking about here. And this is becoming really philosophical, but I don't I don't know. And this is the paradox, right? I said there's no time to be theoretical. But here I'm saying that I don't know where truth comes from. Soon you'll learn that some of the most fulfilling and understandable truths of life that we should all learn to live and abide by are the paradoxes of life. But this is something that you can only learn via experience. You know, William James, you know, early 20th century philosopher, he has a book called, I think, the like the philosophical treatise of like religious experience or something like that. And he talks about this very thing and how certain people, they just snap one day and they just make this certain conversion to God, and it's as if their entire paradigm has shifted after years worth of like alcoholism or ignobility and the sort of demoralized way of living. And in the 21st century, we're quick to discount this as like a religious psychosis. But what people don't understand is that there is actually a fundamental shift that is capable of happening inside of you as a human being that could happen in an instant. You don't know when this instant will come. You don't know when it happens. But for some people, it just seems to shift immediately. Immediately. And it's crazy. It's crazy that some people can just change their entire way of living just overnight. We see these in people like David Goggins and the success stories of people who just wake up one day and say that they've had enough. It goes beyond just religion. And I don't know, man. Like, what you have to understand, right, is that through the realization of this truth and the pursuit of your ambitions and your desires, you have to be adaptable. You have to understand and be willing to accept what the world is trying to tell you. And this is why we are only capable of falling to the level of our systems, of falling to the level of our current understandings. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You don't rise to the level of your ego. You rise to the level of your system and your experience. And that's the truth. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And this is what you have to understand. Don't even take what I'm saying as the truth. I'm telling you this is the truth from my own paradigm of understanding. But even this is capable of changing. I'm not sure if I'm going to have the same beliefs a month from now, a week from now, a year from now. I don't know. But what I do know is my current understanding. And I'm going to allow the world to make that shift in me whenever it wants to. Because I know that truth is not something intrinsic to my ego. I know it's not. It's something much, much, much deeper than that. Much deeper than that. And that's what you have to understand as well. You know, I could talk all day about this, but really I have to go to the next point. I have to. That was a quick crash course on your ego and how you have to sort of view yourself in reference to the world and understand that you're much deeper than your thoughts, you're much deeper than your emotions, you're much deeper than all of these things. You're not any of these things. You're not. That little voice in the back of your head, if you could have a conversation with him of all the negative things that he said about you, could you be his best friend? Could you befriend that negative voice? If he existed in real life, would you be able to have a cordial conversation with him? Would you be able to? Be truthful with yourself. Or would you be quick to discount what he's saying off of pride, based off of your own desires? Would you be able to let him go? Then why are you listening to that voice now? Why are you allowing yourself to gain this inflated sense of ego based off of your own desires and ambitions, and allowing yourself to fall to the voices of your inside your own head and to the voices of others? It's all in reference to how you currently view yourself in the world. You have to dive deep, and in reference into your understanding of others, you have to dive deep. Deeper than anyone else is capable of going. You have to go deeper than anyone else. If you want to do things that other people were never capable of doing before. Or aren't capable of doing right now. That's just the truth. So now we come into my next belief. The market does move within an algorithm. Candles are not that complicated. They have a high, a low, an open, and a close. Realistically, there's only so many different ways that a candle can print. Realistically, like, think about that. It's simple in its nature, but it builds upon itself to form a variety of unique representations of itself. It's simple in its nature. You have, like, come to that realization, like, it's not that complicated to understand. We overcomplicate it in our minds. And at the end of the day, right? This goes for anything, right? Like, if you observe nature, it's impossible for nature, anything in nature, to do something without leaving a certain trace behind, a change in its state. You know, when I don't know, when trees grow, they pollinate, right? When a kid steals a cookie out the cookie jar, he leaves crumbs. When I don't know, when you put your when you put clothes to wash in a laundry, it makes your water bill goes up. When you put clothes to dry in the laundry, lint comes out. Like, you're capable of understanding a situation based off of your perception as to what comes after and what has happened before, right? You know, Einstein talks about this concept in the theory of special relativity called the global sweeping now, in which he goes over and he sort of proves, well, I don't want to say proves, but he goes over this concept as to how time isn't necessarily real. You know, when you see the Flash in the movies, you know, speeding through everybody else as time slows down around him, that's because of a concept in special relativity and general relativity known as reference frames and time dilation. He proves time dilation through mathematical equations and through certain ways of knowing how the speed of light works. I don't know, I'm not a theoretical physicist. But all this to say that through this global sweeping now is how we perceive the world. You know, we don't perceive the world based off of this sort of immediate reference to things. We perceive the world as A causes B. Billiard ball hitting another billiard ball. That's how we perceive the world. And that's how we know certain things to be true in classical physics. So, if this is a fundamental way as to how the world works, then what makes you think that billions, trillions of dollars per day can be moved without leaving a visible trace in the way that its data is representative? What makes you think that? What the hell? Like, why do people think that that price doesn't move in an algorithm? It should be like common sense at this point, based off of what we know and how we know the world works. That price does move in an algorithm. There should be classes in universities based on based off of how candlesticks move in visible representation. This should be a course in like every single Ivy League school of macroeconomics if it's not already. I don't know why it's not the case. And I'm not gonna get conspiratorial with this right now. I'm not gonna talk about this right now. But it doesn't make any sense in my mind that this isn't something that hasn't been studied like in depthly by the current or former geniuses of the world. It just doesn't make sense to me. But there are individuals who have done it. Names in history that have long been forgotten. People like Wyckoff. You know, I sat here and I studied a dead man's entries from the early 1920s and 30s. And the same concepts that he was using back then, they work today. They work today. A genius of his time, never recognized by the masses. Think about that. There's information out there that you have access to that the current general understanding of the public, that the current paradigm of the public just isn't capable of fully realizing. Why? Because it's outside their paradigm. People only know, and this applies to the most intellectual geniuses of the world. Look at Isaac Newton. People only know what has current what people only know and have access to the information that's within their current paradigm. This is why I don't know where truth comes from. I don't know. All I know is that it just comes. Truth just comes sometimes. Pause. It literally just comes to people. And this is how people like Sir Isaac Newton, Einstein, philosophers like Nietzsche and Schopenhauer, and all these people, athletes like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Stephen Curry, especially, athletes like these people are capable of being so great because they gain access to something that's outside their current paradigm of understanding. And if you want to be great at anything, you have to somehow gain access to this understanding that is outside of yourself. And the only way, because you cannot force it, it's impossible to force, is to let it come to you when it comes to you. That's the truth of the matter. That's the only way. Stephen Curry, what he did in regards to the 3-point shot in the NBA is not something that has ever been emulated before. He completely changed the game with his own natural abilities, a crazy work ethic, but more than that, something outside the current paradigm of understanding. That's just the truth. If he wanted to be like everybody else in the NBA at his time, then he wouldn't be as great as he is right now, because the NBA was literally revolved around inside play, slasher type play. You know, you had playmaking like with the San Antonio Spurs, right? And this very high IQ basketball at the time. But the 3-point shot, the way that he was shooting 40 feet behind the line, was something that was completely unheard of. If you want to be great in anything that you do, you have to break those barriers. You have to. Time dilation? What I just told you about time dilation being a mathematical proof, and I don't want to say fake information, so let me just. Is time dilation proved mathematically? Yes, it's proven mathematically, and then I also believe it's observed in atomic decay. Is time dilation observed in atomic decay? Yes, time dilation is observed in atomic decay. That means time dilation, what you see in the freaking Marvel movies with the Flash and time slowing down around him as he moves at the speed of light, bro, that's literally a fundamental truth in nature at the quantum particle level. That's what you have to understand. Like, that's something that isn't within our current understanding in the way that we generally perceive the world or the way that others perceive the world around us. But somehow these geniuses they had access to this understanding that was completely outside of their nature and the current nature of the way things behaved around them. That's what you have to get. That's what will separate you. That's what will separate you. You have to lean into this. You have to lean into the uncertainty of your current paradigm of understanding and truly understand the depth of your ambitions and dreams. That's just the truth. So, if price really does move in an algorithmic way, a couple questions arise, right? One, how do we read it? How do we read it? If it moves in a way that should be consistent across fundamental principles of understanding, right? How do we read it? Well, to a certain extent, you still have to build upon the experience of others of what we already know. This is how genius has been developed for centuries, for millennia. Math was not the same math that it was just 200, 300, 500 years ago. Our understanding of arithmetic from ancient Greece and this foundational understanding has been built upon for hundreds of years to the extent that we know of quantum mechanics and our understanding of quantum mechanics now. And there's even scientific debate, right, as to whether or not that we're capable of understanding quantum mechanics in a far deeper fashion or in a far deeper way that we know now. And the scientific belief, if we're to have faith in science, which is this is what it is, it's a faith in that things will be capable of understanding on a deeper, more scientific level, is that it will be. That if we follow the same processes that we've followed for millennia, then even something as simple as candlesticks can be mastered, it can be conquered. And it's what you have to understand. So, this brings me to my next point. Based off of my experience, my observations in the market, that fundamentals are not necessary for intraday trading. All fundamentals do is speed up price delivery to algorithmic areas. And, I might do a video on a case study of this point when, you know, like just a couple weeks ago in January, I was able to predict the bottom of Solana. And I don't want to pull up the screen now because it'll probably override everything. I don't want to do that. But based off of my understanding of the algorithmic price delivery and my understanding combined with my understanding of fundamentals, I was able to predict Solana's bottom all the way to Solana's all-time high. I even told my family members. I texted in a group chat. I have receipts. I'll definitely do a video on this later for proof. But all I'm trying to say is that the fundamentals, if price really does move algorithmically from area to area, from point A to point B, then all it does is that wherever the banks, the billions and trillions of dollars that come into the market every day via these hedge funds, these these um these higher level banks, etc., etc., all they do, they have their specific targets in mind, but price still has to move. Regardless of their targets in mind, price still has to either go through these areas or give some sort of reaction off of these areas. And price will tell you that. Price will tell you the areas that it will decide to move from during these times of sped up delivery. If you recognize the proper confirmations. So, this brings me to my next point. So, if price does move in an algorithm, it should be possible for not just me, but for everyone to explain every single move in price in some way, shape, or form, even if you're not capable of recognizing it right now. Right? Use your losses. Use your losses as a lesson. Use them. Because that's all they're freaking good for. You already lost the money. Even if it's just demo trading, you already lost the money. Use it as a lesson. Price wasn't meant to bounce off of this point. This wasn't a high probability scenario. It wasn't. So it's your job as a trader, to understand why it wasn't a high probability scenario. And this is what no one is going to show you. This is what no one is going to show you. You have to figure it out for yourself. You know, I could become the richest person in my family. I could become this person filled with esoteric knowledge about the way certain things are that nobody else knows. But I still wouldn't be capable of giving my family my experience, or anybody else for that matter. It's completely up to you as an individual to be able to do this. Completely up to you. I can't implant the information and experience that I have in my brain into you. I can't just download it into you like you're some computer, like I could transfer files via my brain and over the cloud or USB or a hard drive. No, you have to develop that experience for yourself, and it's not going to come from scrolling on X. It's not going to come from going on TikTok. It's not going to come from YouTubing like the best meme coin, shitcoin, or day trading strategy. It's not. That's not where the understanding and the information that you're looking for is going to come from. It's not. It's only going to come from literally thousands of hours of trial and error. And if you're doing anything less than that, then you're guessing. And you're purely speculative. And that's literally what you shouldn't do. That's literally what Isaac Newton did. That's why he lost, even though he was the smartest known person to mankind for over 200 years. If the smartest person who literally conceptualized calculus, who came up with the equations in the theories to calculate the movement of the stars. If this person was not able to do it based off of pure speculation, then why do you think that you can? Why do you think that you can do it the same way that this person, the smartest man, still one of the most smartest men known to mankind, why do you think that you can do it if he wasn't able to do it? Why? I'll tell you why. That's the egotistical part of your understanding. That's the vain part of your identity of yourself. That's just the truth. That's literally the truth. So if you're doing anything less than sleepless nights, if you're doing anything less than pure obsession, then you will never find it for yourself. Because that's what it takes. And that's the truth. It takes shutting yourself in a room for hours and hours of your day. It takes shutting yourself, blocking everything else, having pure tunnel vision to do this. And that's what it takes to be great. I'm sorry. But this is just what I've been able to observe. And I'd be stupid. I'd be stupid to not honor this experience. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's just the truth. I would be stupid to not honor this experience. To think that I could get rich off of a fucking shit coin. I would be stupid. And what I said in the beginning of the video, about certain, let's say, investment bankers, investment traders, higher level investment traders, telling you that purely speculative endeavors are stupid. I'm talking from the perspective that they think that day trading is a purely speculative endeavor. I think like in the book The Intelligent Investor, they tell you that, like, and Warren Buffett too. What did Warren Buffett say about day trading? Warren Buffett's opinion on day trading. Look, he compared day trading to investing as to like calling someone who repeatedly engages in one night stands a romantic. For those seeking lasting returns, the message is clear. Stay patient, stay invested, and let time work its magic. You want to know what that basically means? It means that he thinks day trading is stupid. He has said before, if you aren't willing to own a stock for 10 years, don't even think about owning it for 10 minutes. This is what I'm talking about. People who have experience in an industry that is drastically different in the ways of execution of the industry that you're trying to partake in, you know, their experience, it should be considered, but only in reference to what you're trying to do and to what they have done before. Because if they don't have the experience and the knowledge of the industry that you're trying to partake in, then why pay attention to it? People only operate within their own paradigms, and this goes for even all of the geniuses of the world. It's the truth. And we're talking someone here who is, arguably probably solidified now as the most successful high level investment trader of the 21st century. This is who we're talking about here. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here through literally hours of price, thousands of hours of data, observing the regularities and common facilitations of price. And he's telling me that it's stupid? Are you serious? How am I supposed to just ignore what I'm seeing right now? Is that what I'm supposed to do? Am I supposed to do that? No. No. Honor your experience. It's all that you have, and that's what And that's what all these so-called successful people had in order to garner their success. Even if they don't realize it, even if they think that their opinion is the end all be all, you are the holy grail. You are the holy grail. A system is only as good as your ability to adapt to it. Not one system is the answer. You are the answer. You're the answer. Nobody else is going to tell you the ins and outs of a specific system, and the ins and outs of a specific industry, the ins and outs as to whatever it is that you're trying to do. Only you can decide these things for yourself. You have to hold your opinion and your judgment to an even higher level of others. But the key distinction here, the very, very key and subtle distinction here is that you can't do this from an egotistical perspective, or else you're going to only be just as good as the Warren Buffetts. That sounds crazy, right? That sounds crazy, right? You're only going to be as good as the best investment trader of all time. But that's not the point. Because Warren Buffett would be a shit day trader. Warren Buffett would be a shit creative, a shit artist. Why? Because it's outside his paradigm of experience and understanding of his life's work. Only you can find the answers. But that doesn't mean to immediately discount Warren Buffett from this egotistical, vain part of ourselves. No, you have to allow him to speak. And you have to allow it to at least attempt to resonate with you. And that also doesn't mean letting it resonate with you off rip, getting caught up in the identity and personality of Warren Buffett. No, there are a lot of subtleties here. And the deeper you go into this journey of understanding yourself and what you're trying to achieve, the more you'll be able to understand yourself in reference to these subtleties. You can consciously understand everything that I'm saying right now, but you will still fall victim to the same subconscious processes that you have been proven to fall victim to over the course of your entire life. It's up to you to break the chains. It's up to you to embrace the snap of your mind. You are the holy grail. Not anything Warren Buffett, not anything ICT, not anything any of these people can tell you is going to be the answer. I don't care about the breaker block into the IFVG market structure shift setup that you swear works at every single market open or most market opens. I'm not going to go into the market just completely based off of what you said if I haven't backtested at least 1,000 chart examples of this very specific thing. At least 1,000. At least. I don't care. You could tell me that you have the most unicorn model in the existence of mankind, the Enigma. I don't care. I don't. I don't even want to put demo money on it. I don't even want to try it out in demo because I know what a loss feels like. I know what it feels like. That shit does not feel good at all. And that, as a minor point, you'll never be profitable if you aren't actively grateful for taking your stop loss, right? You're never gonna be profitable. Because why? Because the only way that you're going to be able to learn the ins and outs of the market, if price, like I said before, truly moves algorithmically, If it truly moves in the algorithm, you should be able to trade every single move of the market. Why are you settling for less? If you truly believe that price moves in the algorithm, I don't care what anyone tells you. I don't care if they say that you shouldn't be looking to trade every single move in the market. Yes, yes, don't look to trade every single move in the market, but that doesn't mean to discount the possibility of understanding every single move in the market. Trading is not just about making money. I don't care what anyone says. It's not just about making money. And this is what people have gotten wrong. If you are motivated by purely superficial values like money, maybe you'll see $1,000 here. Maybe you'll see $1,000. Hey, maybe you'll see $1,000,000. But you will never, ever, ever feel fulfilled. Never. If you're using trading as the vehicle for the things that you truly want to do in life, bro, get out. Get out. Get out. This is going to be a hard pill to swallow. Get the fuck out. Get out. Because guess what? You will always be outclassed by someone like me who truly loves to do this for the love of the game. That's just the truth. That's just the truth. And this is something that a lot of gurus do not understand. Trading is not just about making money. It's also not about being right. You know, and this is something that if you're familiar with him on Twitter, you should definitely check out his stuff. He's pretty good. His name is Dave Teaches. He talks a lot about this on trading Twitter, that he doesn't care about being right. He only cares about making money in the markets. Bro, he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand what he truly cares about, and I know he doesn't. Why? Because when I see that smile on his face when he takes a trade, when he has a successful trade, that's not a smile of pure vanity. That's not a smile of pure greed. And he said it himself. He said this in one of his posts. You know, I don't have X anymore, but you could go look for it if you want. He said, "Can you tell by the smile based off my face? I love these markets. I love them." Do you think love and fulfillment like that? And this is one of these traders that's truly gifted, that can truly predict, and I believe can truly predict and trade every single move of the market that if he wanted to. Same with some of these ICT traders. Same with some of these trendline traders. Hell, who knows? I don't know. If you put enough time with trend lines, you might be able to get to that point. Same with some of these indicator traders. Like look at the people who win the Robbins Cup. I'm sure they could trade a lot of the moves in the market if they wanted to. But listen, there is no way you'll ever be able to reach the level of understanding that you're looking for if you don't have a love for the game. It's impossible. You'll be outclassed every single time. Every single time you'll be outclassed. Every single time. And that's not to say that, a lot of us get into the markets for the money. A lot of us get into the markets for the money. Hell, I got into the markets for the money. That's why I started doing this. I got into the markets because I was in college debt and I realized, like, bro, like, I have not been able to pass a single semester of college. I graduated high school with like a 2.6 or a 2.7 GPA. You know, school, you know, I came to the decision that's just not meant for me. I need something else to make me money. Working a job is not meant for me either. You know, I really have a disdain for authority. Like, it's just something that's intrinsic to me. And I really dislike it when people tell me what to do. It's just something that I just don't like. I don't know how to explain it. But whenever someone tells me to do something, hell, you could, bro, if you tell me to do something, I'll have a stank face. But if you ask me to do something, bro, I'll be okay with it because creates it creates like a sort of facade in my mind that I had the choice to do it, you know? And it's like, bruh, like I came to this realization that it's just in me that like when people tell me to do some things, I don't like to do it. And I think this is the same, but when people ask me to do something that's different, I think this is the same for all humans. I'm getting kind of sidetracked right now. But like even just beyond that simple like understanding of human nature right there. Like my entire life I had a disdain for authority. My parents, teachers, bro, my teachers would be like, blah, blah, blah. Why aren't you trying your hardest in these classes? I know you're capable of so much more. Why are you not doing it? Same with all of my college professors. They always ask me, Angel, why are you not doing so much more? You could be doing so much better right now. Bro, it's just in me. Like, it's in my nature to have just this disdain for people telling me what to do. It's why I wasn't able to do homework, etc., etc. And I forgot the original point that I was trying to make here. But damn, I forgot the original point I was trying to make here. But the point being is that I was trying to lean in into the beginning, into my original nature. So I decided, you know what, fuck it. Let's become an entrepreneur. Let's start trying to make money on our own. So I decided trying to get into shit coins and stuff like that, purely for the money. But deep down, I knew that I was leaning, finally, I was leaning into what I truly wanted to do. Finally, I didn't have to listen to nobody else. My decisions were always my own decisions, not infringed upon me by anyone else. Truly, beyond just asking me, beyond just uh, beyond just the illusion of choice. Beyond this, it was truly my own decisions. And slowly but surely, as I made my way from speculative end of hours into algorithmic end of hours like day trading, I started to develop this sense of love for it, the sense of love for explaining. And I just love to explain. That's why and teach and learn. Like that's why I do this. And I'm gonna be honest with you. When I lean into that money making, egotistical part of myself, if I'm being honest with you, every single time I just fucking lose. Every single time. It is not the part of me that is truly successful. It's not. So, this is just me speaking from pure experience. But unless you have years of experience, bro, I'm only a year into day trading and I've seen so much. By the end of the year, there's no way that I will be unprofitable. There's no way. That means that in basically a year, I'm planning, or a little bit over a year, I in all intents and purposes, there is there is a high likelihood, I'm telling you guys, that I'm going to be a successful scalper. And if I'm wrong, you'll see me 6 feet under. That's the truth, because then life is just not worth living for me. That's that's how deep it is for me. I can't give up on this. Not for the money. It's deeper than the money. That's when I'm up at night, 3 hours worth of sleep, my ego it starts talking to me. My ego it starts talking to me. It starts bringing up all these um these grandiose delusional fantasies of all the people that I'm going to be able to prove wrong. the hatred of a specific people that had implanted seeds in my mind in my childhood begins to spur up. The people who did me wrong, who teased me, who bullied me throughout my teenage years, all of that starts to come in rushing through my mind. But if I'm being honest with you, if I was to lean into all of these things on the 3 hours worth of sleep, or even when I do attempt to lean into all of these things, my results, they completely depreciate. My understanding doesn't grow deeper, because then it completely shifts into this mode of ego and vanity, and it completely blocks whatever potential understanding that I can make through whatever Price is trying to tell me right now. This is the lesson. Your ego is what's blocking you from understanding what Price is truly doing. This is the difference. It's the difference. And like I said, I don't want this channel to get that many views. I don't want not even 100 subscribers. I don't even want 50 subscribers. I want this channel to be for the select few that have already had that shift in the paradigm of their mind. Because I'm going to be honest with you, it's a fundamental part of my philosophy that I don't want to try to convince anyone anymore of what's possible. I only want to prove to what other people deep down in their minds of what they know is possible. Because I don't control when that shift will happen in their paradigm. I just don't. So I don't want this channel to be for the masses no more. I've shifted from that understanding of trying to help as many people as possible. I only want to help people who will allow me to help them. That's it. That's it. And you will never be profitable for these reasons if you aren't actively grateful for taking your stop loss. Because when you take a stop, if you hate taking your stop, you're blocking your ego, or your ego is blocking you, the real you deep down inside, that is outside of all the thoughts and the emotions. The observer, the true observer, is blocking the observer from being able to take the lessons that Price is trying to give you. Your stop loss is actually your best friend. Your take profit is not your best friend. Your take profit is not something to be celebrated. You should be celebrating every single time that you take a stop loss. Every single time. And I'm not saying that just for the sake of celebrating. I'm not saying that because you think you have to celebrate it. No, I'm not saying that because of that. I'm saying this because your stop loss is the key to your profitability. Your stop loss, even deeper than your profitability, is the key to your understanding. Your losses are deep. Your losses are deep. Deeper than you can even imagine right now. Deeper than you can even conceptualize right now. Way deeper than any of that. Damn, bro. You have to get this shit. That's what you have to understand. Even if it hurts in the moment. Put yourself in that frame of mind. No matter how much it hurts. Don't leave. You have to sit with that loss until the emotion dissipates and you can take what's on the other side. for yourself. Claim it as your own. That's how you'll get this. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, all of the great athletes of the world. Kobe Bryant specifically is like a mentor to me. Do you know what Kobe Bryant used to do to get ahead of all of his opponents? Kobe Bryant would literally schedule his sleep into partitions of time during the day because he truly believed that if he was working while his opponents were sleeping, then he would get ahead of them in every single aspect. I don't even think this was just in pure development of skill either. I think that there's actually a psychological component to this because just the fact that you're working while everyone else is sleeping, while no one else is putting work, just the fact that you're doing that gives you a psychological edge and a sort of confidence in your ability when it's time to face the music. This is the level of obsession that is needed. Kobe Bryant didn't just like playing basketball for the sake of playing basketball. He didn't like it for the money. He was obsessed with every single detail, with the sound of the net, the sound of the ball on the hardwood floors. Every single detail. He had fallen completely in love with it. Completely. And this is what you have to realize as well. You have to own up to this. That if you have the same beliefs as me, if you truly believe that price moves in an algorithm, you have to obsess over every single tick of price. Every single tick has an explanation behind it. Every single tick. Every single tick. You can explain and forget capitalizing off of it. It's not even about capitalization anymore. It's not about profitability. It's about developing that understanding for the love of understanding. And I go on trading Twitter and I see people who just set and forget, who just put a target, an entry, and a stop loss, and they forget about it. No, that's not what you're supposed to do. That is the complete opposite. And if you want to truly be great at this, by the way, you have to detach from the industry standards, from what the hive mind of your industry is thinking, or else you'll never be able to truly separate yourself. Because best believe every single human being trader on this earth is trying their hardest to avoid this pain, is trying their hardest to avoid the potential observations that are within price itself. You can't ignore it. The moment that you choose to ignore is the moment that you admit defeat. And it's okay to admit defeat. Sometimes admitting defeat is necessary. But in this case, buddy, this isn't defeat. This is an opportunity. Change your frame of reference. Change it for the greater good of yourself. Change it. Change your life. change your mind, and everything will come after. Not for the point of gaining some sort of wealth, but for the pure love of the game. That's it. Change your frame of reference. And I'm saying this as someone who's in a shit ton of debt right now. I'm not saying this as someone who's successful. So how do you detach? How? How do you truly fall in love with this game? How? If you're like me and you have a disdain for authority, you don't want to deal with other people, but yet you don't want to deal with other people in regards to managing a business. If you have certain specific interests and hobbies, but you don't want them to be ruined by the pursuit or by the potential pursuit of monetary wealth from the perspective of a potential business endeavor. If you're like me in these regards that wants more time to pursue these hobbies and these interests, then how is it that I am able to shift my focus from the potential wealth that can be gained and placing this not as like a sort of primacy and salient goal above all of my other interests and hobbies, but as something that I truly love the most? How? I can't really give you the answer to that. But I could tell you that for me, is that it's just through pure obsession. Like every single tick of price, I'm not willing to engage in moves anymore. I'm not willing, even in back testing, to engage in something anymore unless I fully understand it. And that doesn't come from taking trades up and down, without first having that full understanding. So to fall in love with this understanding, I guess you just sort of have to allow it to happen without being influenced by the egotistical part of yourself. That's the only advice I could give you in order to, and if you haven't shifted your paradigm yet, to be able to shift your paradigm. And I'm telling you, like this love, it just gives you a far greater energy than any sense of anger or pride or vanity will ever give you. Because love love will prevail when all else fails. It's the only thing that will keep you going. When Kobe Bryant, or when anyone for that matter in the NBA, had a losing game, lost a championship, this, that, and the third, when they lost, if they were to have truly attached their intrinsic sense of self-worth and their identity to their ability as a basketball player, then they wouldn't be able to practice when their identity wasn't able to be proved. And I see this in myself constantly. When I start to attach myself to my ability as a trader in these markets, then what happens? When I lose, it completely demotivates me. But when you attach yourself to the pure love and perseverance of the game, all else comes after. You forget about the wins, you forget about the losses. They become just feedback. And you attach yourself to the thing that truly matters. It's what allows you to keep going when everything else is failing. And that's what you have to understand. And this will automatically generate a level of obsession and OCD like behavior in your operations automatically. But you have to be able to recognize when the monkey mind, prime like ape like brain starts to come in. So, algorithmic trading, and I'm not talking about like algorithmic trading in the context of like a of like of like people who code like these specific models of price. No, that completely eliminates the human aspect. I'm not gonna lie. It's something that fundamentally we deal with on a very different level than what these algorithmic traders have to deal with. I'm talking about algorithmic trading in the context of price action, of candlestick reading. If you know that, or if you believe that candlesticks move within a specific algorithm, then it's like a game of chess where we deal with like these probabilities and certain potential probabilities as to how certain moves can play out. And although you're capable of understanding and predicting every single bounce and move of price within this algorithm, which you should be able to if price truly moves within an algorithm, then you should only be willing to capitalize on the highest probability move. And if you're not capable of understanding these different probabilities, then you have to go back into your back testing. You know, in chess, you never know what move an opponent is going to play next. You know, Magnus Carlsen, he's the greatest chess player right now, debatedly of all time. You know, you have other players like Garry Kasparov, and then you have like the second best player right now, Fabiano Caruana. And these players, when they play against other people around their same level of around their same level of expertise, you know, you never know what a player is truly going to play next. But what you do know, or what you're capable of knowing, is the best possible move in a specific scenario. The best possible move in a specific scenario. And this is how people like Hikaru Nakamura are capable of generating in their minds, dozens of moves ahead and calculating dozens of moves ahead of the potential probabilities of the moves the opponent may be able to make. And they operate based off of these higher probabilities. And if something else happens that they hadn't considered, then they adjust. They adjust their analysis. And as a trader, you have to come to the understanding that although you may be able to predict a great deal of moves in the market, your judgment at times is still going to be wrong. You're only human, you're not a machine. So it's in your best interest to only operate within these higher probabilities. And if you are outplayed, this goes back to my former point as to being grateful for taking your stop loss, then you have to understand that there's an opportunity for a deeper understanding to dive even deeper into the potential possibilities. That's how it works. It's not your mentor's fault. Your mentor didn't teach you wrong. You taught yourself wrong. It's not manual intervention. It's not the strategy either. But if you were 100% following that strategy with the deepest of understanding possible for that strategy, given the proper context and narrative that Price was currently showing you, then you simply wouldn't have lost. It would have worked. It would have worked. And you have to swallow that fact that the market isn't random. The market isn't random. And if it truly isn't random, if it's truly not random, then every single move can be accounted for. And your goal as a trader has to shift from playing for the money to playing for playing to garner a deeper understanding. And again, if none of this is true, you'll see me 6 feet under. Because it means that my ambitions, my ideas were completely wrong. That means that everything that I believe and think to be true is completely false. And everything that I've seen across all asset classes and everything I've been taught from my various mentors, it was all a lie. And I would just lose faith in everything. I'm not even going to lie to you. But I'm pretty sure I'm on the right side of probabilities here because just based off of what I've seen so far, it's impossible for all of this to be false. And this is your job to figure out for yourself, to really confirm if what I'm saying is true. How bad do you want it? Aw, shit. How bad do you want this? If you have some other reason to live that's outside of trading, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's going to be impossible for you to become profitable, but best believe I'm pretty sure it's going to take you a significant amount of time. You know, in our society, we value things like hard work and struggle and perseverance. Not to say that these things aren't to be valued, but if there was a known way, a way that was far easier to achieve these things that we've all truly desired and that we all truly wanted, then would you take it? Would you still value that struggle? What if the other way was in the pursuit of your heartiest of hearts, your innermost heart's desire that's truly revolved around the love of just what it is that you like to do? Would you agree with struggle being one of the most ultimate virtues then? Or is struggle only a virtue for you right now because you're not pursuing what it is that you love to do? So then you have two options. You can either disregard everything that I'm saying and take years, because I know this shit's not going to take me years. I don't want it for it to take me years. You know, I feel like mastering the market is going to be a lifelong endeavor for me. And like I said, money isn't a goal. Well, money is a goal for me, but it's not that of primacy. And I truly believe that this perspective, this shift in my paradigm, is going to allow me to become profitable at a much faster rate and higher expectancy than anyone else. Or faster rate and higher expectancy than anyone else is known to. Because what is it in the industry that's constantly said? that, oh yeah, that you should only start to consider seeking to be a profitable trader a couple years into your into your into your trading journey. And I'm not so sure about that. Like I feel like I'm okay if it does take me a couple years. How bad do you want this? But I feel like I do believe that the only reason why it takes people this much time for them to see money in the markets is because they're fueled by the wrong things. And it's the blocks that I mentioned before that are a response of the wrong usage of the wrong type of fuel. That's my fundamental philosophy. And I'm saying this as someone who some days has been able, when he hasn't been blocked by his ego and by his vanities, to be able to predict every single tick of price. And when my predictions are wrong, my idea is always correct. It's always correct. 99% of the time, it's correct. I just got involved at the wrong time because of my ego, because of the need and the want to make money. So this is just me talking from my experience here. But my call to you, for the 1%, for the 0.001% of people that are watching this, is to disregard all of that. Is to disregard making money. Is to be okay with not making money. And the only way you're going to be okay with not making money is if you have the right type of fuel. It's the only way. And the comments will be disabled on this video. No one will be able to comment on this video. But if you sat down and watched through every single minute, every single second of this video, then really consider it, save it, consider it, and let it sort of permeate into the deepest, most darkest crevices of your mind. And then maybe then you'll be able to take something out of it. So yeah, that's it.